Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you, wherever you are in the world. This is AtTechEdu News, the Edtech Files, a place to get ideas about anything EdTech. Welcome to episode 4 of the Edtech Files. My name is Richard Poff and I have a passion for learning. In this episode, I wanted to share with you an idea where elementary students can post their ideas to Twitter. Now, the issue we've got with elementary students using Twitter is that they can't actually create their own account. The grade 5 teacher came up to me asking if there was a way that these students could actually post their opinions about certain subjects. They wanted to send out tweets that would provoke discussion around the world. But obviously, with Twitter, we don't want their names associated necessarily to the tweets that they were sending. So I wanted to figure out a way of doing this, and I did this with using Google Forms. So the process I'm about to show you is how we can take a Google form and give this to the students, maybe via Google Classroom. The students would fill out the Google form with the tweet that they want to post. That tweet would then be tweeted via generic classroom Twitter accounts and then sent out. There'll be no name attached to that tweet. It will only be associated to the classroom Twitter account. It's a fantastic way of getting kids really understanding how they can tweet out without necessarily having their name associated to the tweet. And this is how I did it. So the first thing we're going to do is actually sign up for a new Twitter account. So you need to go to twitter.com and then you need to set up your own Twitter account. Now, if you've got a Twitter account for your classroom, then you can skip this part of the tutorial. But if you haven't, then set up your Twitter account for your classroom. So I'm going to call this, and the email address I'm going to use is this one up here, Han Solo. This is one of my test accounts. Solo at AtTechEdu.com, and let's give it a password. Okay, so we're going to sign up for Twitter. There's our information, and then we click on, if this is ticked, I would untick this at the moment and then sign up. I'm going to skip this part, and then I can put a username in. So this is AtTechEdu grade 5. Okay, so there's my username for my particular classroom. Okay, so but obviously think carefully about what you want to call yours, and if this is a school-wide initiative, then you may want to have some kind of naming convention so all your classes have got a similar kind of Twitter account name. Okay, let's click next and let's go. We can say continue to this and no thanks to importing contacts. We can unselect all of these, we don't need them, and then we can continue. If you as a teacher are logging into this and you want to make sure that you're getting the notifications of any tweets that are coming, then I would suggest you turn them on. I'm going to turn these off for now because I have a Twitter account on this computer, but if you want to ensure that you're getting the tweets that are coming through, then maybe you want to turn notifications on. So I'm going to go into Twitter now, and here's my Twitter account. Now the first thing it's going to do is going to ask you this welcome. I'm going to skip that. It's asking me to confirm my email address. So I should be able to go over to my email, and there's a Twitter email, and then I'm just going to click confirm now. Okay, so that's taking me back into Twitter. I can close this down and let's go back to here. Let's refresh this page. And there we go. We are in our Twitter account. Let's skip all on this one. We're in our Twitter account. So this is step 1. Obviously, you can go over and you can change your background by editing your profile. You can put a picture in there. So I'm not going to go into this, but you can actually do that. Okay. So that's the first stage of this process actually done, setting up our Twitter account. Now, if you've had a Twitter account already, then maybe you'd move on to this next section. Now, the next section is all about actually creating a Google form for your students. Okay, so I'm going to create that Google form. Now, you're going to use the same Google account here. So I'm just going to go into Google Drive, and I'm going to click on New, and I'm going to do a new folder, create that. And I'm going to go into the folder. So I'm in the folder now. I'm going to go to New, go to More and Google Forms. Now, when you're doing this, I think you need to think about whether this is going to be a legacy account. Is this something that's associated to a teacher, or is it associated to a classroom? If it's to a classroom, then I suggest you use legacy accounts for this. So a generic email address that if you leave, then another teacher can actually take this and go forward with it. Because if it's attached to your own email account, then when you leave, then this whole process disappears and then that new teacher will have to do it. So attaching this to legacy accounts is a really good idea. Okay, so I'm in my Google Forms. I want to give my Google form a name. So tweets for grade 5. And our title of our form is over there. So my first question, I'm going to ask what their name is. And we want this to be a short answer question, and I want it required. And then I'm going to add a new question. I'm going to ask a new question, and this is where they're going to actually add their tweet. And this time I'm going to make it a paragraph text. All right, I'm going to make it required. So I'm going to go down to these 3 dots here. I'm going to click on data validation. Now, what I want to do is make sure that the message that they put in there is under a certain amount of characters. Now, on Twitter, you can't type more than 140 characters. But the problem is in Google Forms, when you set these character accounts, so we want a maximum character count, we can't put 140 in here. When you use this in Google Forms, and I found this out the hard way, what you have to think about is this character count does not include the spaces. So you need to have an average. And to be honest, if you make this maybe 120, that allows for 20 spaces. Maybe you want to go for 110. I'm going to say 110. So this character length has to be 110 characters. Okay. So now what we're going to do is just put a description in there to tell them that. Now I can put a custom error message here. And there we have it. There is our form. Okay. What I'm also going to add here in the description is if they want to add a URL, then they can. But I will suggest with URLs that you shorten them first. So in here, I'm going to put, but remember that URL is going to use up that character count as well. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go to our responses. And we're going to set up our response Google spreadsheet. So let's click on Create Spreadsheet. So we can create a new spreadsheet and create that. That opens up our new spreadsheet. Now we have here timestamp, what is your name, and type of tweet. That's all we need at the moment, okay? Now, the reason we've put what is your name there is because that is not actually going to be tweeted out. But if I want to go back as a teacher and see who has actually tweeted certain messages out, I've got a good way of finding that out. Now I could, if I wanted to, I could go back into my Google form, and in questions here, what I could do is I could set up collect email address so they don't actually have to put their name in if they don't want to. So that's an option if you want to. So we have our spreadsheet, we have our form. Now what I want to do now is just complete a test form. So I'm going to click over here on preview. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fill this form out. Let's put a test tweet in here. And I'm going to add a hashtag here as well. I'm going to use my own hashtag for AtTechEdu, but there you could use any test hashtag, but I'm using that because I know where to find it. And then we're going to just submit. So that's submitted. Now if we go back to our grade 5, this will appear here. There's our tweet. Okay, let's just make that a little bit longer so we can see it. There's our message that's gone to our Google form. But obviously this has not been tweeted out yet. The next stage of the process is to set up a Zapier account so we can tweet out what's happening in this Google spreadsheet. So let's open up a new tab, and we want to go to Zapier, and then we can go to Zapier.com here. So we want to try Zapier for free. Now there is a paid service for this, and you also get 13 or 14 days free on the higher grade service. But once those 13, 14 days are over, then it goes back to the free service, which I'll explain to you later. So let's try and sign up for a new account. I don't want to know about new features at the moment, and then sign up. Okay, so now I'm in Zapier. And as you can see here, it says I've got 13 days free. What I can do is click on this and have a look at the plans. So as I go down here, you can see here, this is the plans. You can, if you wanted to, you can pay for these. But what's going to happen after the 13 days, it's going to go to, we're going to go here. This is sufficient. Now at the top, let's make a Zap. So I need to first of all set up my first trigger. The trigger is the Google Sheets. So when the Google form goes into the Google Sheets, it creates a new record in the Google Sheets. So that is my trigger. So when a new line appears in my Google Sheet, we want that to be tweeted out. So let's click on Google Sheets. Then what I want to do is select this one here. It says update spreadsheet row. I could also select this one. So either or. So actually, because we're only using a very basic form, we can use this one. But if you've got formulas for whatever reason within your Google spreadsheet, then this one may be a better one to use. So let's use this one and save and continue. Now we need to connect our Google account. So I'm going to connect this account. So it's going to ask me, there's my account up here, and I'm going to allow that. And then save and continue. The next part is going to ask me what spreadsheet. Now, if I click on this, it should find the spreadsheets. There we go, tweets for grade 5 responses. And then it's going to ask me what worksheet. Now, if I go back to my spreadsheet, the worksheet is this one here. So I've only got one tab here. If I have multiple tabs, I'd choose the one, but I only need this one. So let's go back to my Zapier and choose that tab, which is this one. And then I can continue. It's given me some information here, and now I can fetch and continue and see what's actually in that spreadsheet. And it's done a successful test. So the next thing we need to do is then say, well, okay, that's the trigger. So when we've got all that information, where do we want it to go? Well, we want it to go to Twitter. So let's continue. And then we search for Twitter. And there it is. So it's going to add Twitter to the actions up here. So there's a few options here, but for the purpose of this, we just want it to create a new tweet and then save and continue. We need to connect an account. It's asking if you want to follow Zapier. I suggest you just choose no here and continue, and then we can authorize the app. So we've connected the Twitter account. Now we can go to save and continue. And now we need to tell Twitter what to actually send out. So let's click on this button here to insert a field. That's going to find the fields from the spreadsheet, and we want the Twitter. So this is the one that we want. Type your tweet. So this is the field that we want. We don't want to put the name in. All right. We don't want the child's name in there. And should shorten URLs. Well, you could leave that as a yes. If there's a URL in the tweet, it will shorten it. And then we can continue. So here's a test. This is the tweet. There's the hashtag and shorten it. There was nothing there. So now we can go create and continue. Test is complete and finished. Okay, so now we just have to name this. So this is AtTechEdu 5, and then let's turn on our tweets. So now that's all set up, what we can do is just run a couple of tests now. Let's go back to Twitter and refresh Twitter. Now you should see there is our test. This is a test tweet. Okay, so let's do another one now. So let's go back to our form, submit another response, and let's type my name in here again. This is another test tweet. And hashtag AtTechEdu. Remember, we've only got 110 characters there. I could put more hashtags in there if I wanted to, and then submit. There we go. Let's go back to our account. There is my new entry in my spreadsheet. Let's go back to Twitter and refresh Twitter. Now what's going to happen here, Zapier will only run every so often. I think in a free account, it's about 15 minutes. And you've also got a certain amount of tweets that you can actually tweet out each month on the free account. You can only tweet out 100 tweets per month on the free account. So it's worth bearing that in mind. So while we're waiting for that tweet, what we can do as a teacher is send out this form. What I tend to do when sending out forms is use Google Classroom. So I want to go back to our Google form here. I'm going to take the link, and this is my teacher account. And what I can do now is add an announcement here, or an assignment. Assignment might be better. And I want to go to all students, tweet out your comments. Okay. And then I can put some instructions there. Let's create a topic. Let's call this Twitter. And then in the link, I'm going to add my link in there and add the link. Then assign. So here's my entry. If I go back to my student account, this is my account here. If I just refresh this, and then what the students can do, they can just click on this. It will open up the Google form, and then they can actually enter their tweet in there. Okay, so that's basically how I would get this form out to my students. Let's go back to Twitter. Right, so I've just refreshed the screen, and there you go. There is our tweet that's been tweeted out from our Google spreadsheet. All right, you could do a couple more tests, but bear in mind, every test that you do would use up some of the allocation that you've got. And like I say, it could be about 100 tweets per month. So that's what you could do to get your children in elementary school tweeting using Google Forms on a generic classroom Twitter account. Thank you for watching episode 4 of the EdTech Files. I hope you tune in next time for some more fantastic ideas in the world of EdTech. Thank you and goodbye.